Imagine waking up every single morning and having no choice, not in what you wear, not in where you go, not in what you're allowed to think. Now imagine that your neighbor could be reporting your every move to the government. Your own brother might be listening for the wrong word. And if you make one mistake, one wrong step, not just you, but your children and your children's children will pay the price. This is not a dystopian novel. This is Tuesday in North Korea. Born inside the walls of political prison camp 14. In 1982, a boy named Shin Dong-hyuk never knew freedom. He had never seen it. He didn't even know what the word meant. His mother had been imprisoned under one of the most chilling legal doctrines in modern history, guilt by association. Her crime? Being related to someone the regime deemed an enemy. Shin was born into captivity, raised behind electrified fences, and survived on corn porridge and whatever he could catch: rats, insects, grass. There were roughly 20,000 prisoners inside that camp. The rules were brutally simple. Attempt to escape, and you will be shot. Hear someone else planning to escape and fail to report them, and you will be executed too. At age 13, Shin overheard his mother and brother whispering about a plan to flee. Hungry and barely old enough to understand the weight of what he was doing, he told the guards, hoping for extra food as a reward. 7 months later, every prisoner in the camp was assembled on the grounds. Shin was placed at the front, and in front of his own eyes, his mother was hanged, and his brother was shot dead. He was then tortured for 6 months. In 2005, at age 23, Shin managed to escape. He crossed into China, then made it to South Korea. His story, documented in the internationally acclaimed book Escape from Camp 14, reached the United Nations. It became one of the most powerful first-hand accounts ever recorded of life inside North Korea's political prison system. North Korea, officially called the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or the DPRK, is home to approximately 25 million people. If you pull up a satellite image of East Asia at night, you'll see something that stops you cold. South Korea glows. China blazes with light. And right between them, a vast, almost total darkness. That darkness is North Korea, a nation of 25 million people, essentially invisible from space. The irony of the name, Democratic People's Republic, is not lost on anyone who looks closely. Calling yourself democratic doesn't make it so. And North Korea is one of the most extreme examples of that truth in human history. People cannot read at night. They can't watch television after dark. Many residents simply go to sleep when the sun goes down, because decades of power outages have made darkness the norm. During the catastrophic famine of 1995 to 1998, one of the worst man-made humanitarian disasters of the 20th century, researchers noticed something strange. The frog population was collapsing. The reason? People were catching and eating frogs to survive. The death toll from that famine has never been officially confirmed, because the North Korean government suppressed the data. Estimates range from 500,000 to over 2 million people dead from starvation, in a country that once had one of the fastest-growing economies in Asia. In 1980, North Korea's GDP per capita was actually higher than both India and China. The state provided free healthcare, free education, free housing, and free transportation. Between 1950 and 1980, the country's GDP grew at 4.5% annually. Then the Soviet Union collapsed. Russia had been supplying North Korea with cheap oil and food. When that pipeline dried up, the economy imploded. Power stations shut down, lights went out across the country, and millions began to starve. The United States and other nations offered aid, but only if North Korea agreed to halt its nuclear program. Pyongyang refused. The world imposed isolation. And then, in August 1995, devastating floods wiped out what little agricultural infrastructure remained. The government had no cash reserves, no international credit, and too much pride to ask for help on terms it hadn't dictated. So the people died, and the government hid it. The Kim family has ruled North Korea since its founding after World War II, when the Korean Peninsula was divided between Soviet and American spheres of influence. Kim Il-sung, a guerrilla leader who fought against Japanese occupation, became the nation's first supreme leader. His son, Kim Jong-il, succeeded him. Today, his grandson, Kim Jong-un, controls the country with the same iron grip the family has maintained for over 75 years. This is not really a communist state in the traditional sense. It's a family dynasty, a hereditary dictatorship where every law, every institution, every policy exists for one purpose: keeping the Kim family in power. To do that, the government controls virtually every aspect of daily life. Where you live is determined by the state. Where you work is assigned to you. Where your children go to school depends on your political loyalty score. A classification system called songbun, which divides every citizen into 3 categories: the core class loyalists, the wavering class those under suspicion, and the hostile class enemies of the state. Your songbun follows you from birth. It determines whether you can live in Pyongyang, whether your children can attend university, and whether your family eats. Only core class citizens are permitted to live in the capital. Hostile class citizens are banned from within 50 kilometers of Pyongyang. And because the government uses family members to spy on each other, trust between even the closest relatives becomes nearly impossible. A father cannot speak freely with his own son. A sister cannot confide in her brother. Everyone is both a potential informant and a potential suspect. The government controls what North Koreans wear. There is an official approved list of hairstyles, currently around 15 to 20 options for men and women. Hair dye is banned. Blue jeans, ripped jeans, and skinny jeans are prohibited as symbols of Western cultural infiltration. Branded clothing is forbidden. Women cannot wear tight dresses, short skirts, or sun hats. Even certain glasses frames are off limits. Specifically, the style worn by Kim Jong-un himself, which no citizen is permitted to imitate. And yes, there are fashion police, roaming officers who patrol public areas looking for violations. Get caught wearing something unapproved, and your clothing may be cut on the spot. Repeat offenders face fines or imprisonment. In 2005, the government ran a state propaganda television series warning citizens that long hair reduced intelligence and was a health hazard, all to justify enforcing mandatory haircut rules. Entertainment is equally suffocating. No foreign films are shown. Television and radio broadcast only state-approved content propaganda, loyalty demonstrations, and glorified images of the Kim family. Watching foreign media is a serious crime. In 2022, 2 teenagers received 12-year sentences of hard labor for watching and distributing South Korean dramas. A young man was publicly executed for listening to South Korean music. Yet people still watch. USB drives smuggled across the Chinese border have replaced DVDs as the currency of forbidden entertainment. Families watch contraband content with the lights off, curtains drawn, volume nearly silent. To catch them, authorities once randomly cut electricity, trapping DVDs inside players for inspection. Now the cat-and-mouse game continues with flash drives small enough to hide in a shoe. Internet access, as most of the world knows it, does not exist for ordinary North Koreans. A heavily monitored internal network called the Kwangmyong intranet offers only government-approved websites. Access to the actual internet requires special permission, must be conducted in the presence of a supervising librarian, is limited to 1 hour per session, and is preceded by mandatory fingerprint registration. Every 5 minutes, the screen freezes for review. Religion is officially outlawed. North Korea is an atheist state. Practicing any faith can carry a death sentence. Christianity is particularly targeted. In 2009, a woman named Ri Hyun-ok was publicly executed for distributing Bibles. Her husband and 3 children were sent to a political prison camp. Meanwhile, the Kim family has essentially been elevated to the status of gods. Portraits of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il hang in every home, office, school, and public space. Government inspectors make unannounced home visits to ensure the portraits are properly displayed and undamaged. In 2020, a woman fleeing her burning home was later investigated, not praised, because she had failed to save the leader's portraits. Her hospitalized children were denied medicine as punishment. The economic reality for most North Koreans is grinding poverty. An estimated 69% of the population cannot afford basic necessities: clean water, education, or healthcare. Most homes have no refrigerator, no washing machine, and no reliable electricity. Male workers are assigned government jobs and paid wages frozen at pre-1990 rates, the equivalent of 7 to 9 kilograms of corn per month. A doctor who defected in 2014 revealed that her monthly salary was 3,500 North Korean, won not enough to buy a single kilogram of rice. Because male wages are so low, the economic backbone of most North Korean families is women. Married women are not required to hold government positions, so they work in local markets, small, informal trading hubs called jangmadang. These markets, which emerged during the famine years as survival mechanisms, now account for an estimated 70% of household income in many families. And they've become something the government never intended: a channel for outside information. Through jangmadang networks, whispers of the outside world circulate. USB drives pass through these markets. People begin to understand, slowly, dangerously, that the world beyond North Korea does not look the way their government told them it does. Forced labor underlies the entire economy. In factories, mines, and construction sites, citizens work 12 to 18-hour shifts for little or no pay. The state's budget priority is not its people, its weapons. And in the political prison camps, where conditions are worst, an estimated 40% of prisoners die from starvation. Survivors have reported eating food scraps intended for pigs simply to stay alive. A totalitarian system of this scale persists through 3 interlocking mechanisms: brutality, the songbun classification system, and relentless propaganda. From birth, children are taught that Kim Jong-un is not merely a leader, but something approaching divine. Myths are circulated through schools that he learned to drive at age 3, mastered marksmanship before kindergarten, and possesses almost supernatural abilities. The goal is not just obedience. The goal is to make people unable to imagine an alternative. But cracks are forming. The jangmadang markets have created a generation of North Koreans who think economically, who negotiate, trade, and navigate a world outside state control. Foreign dramas, smuggled in on USB drives, have shown millions of ordinary citizens what life in South Korea, China, and beyond actually looks like. The comparison is devastating to the regime's narrative, and defector networks, dangerous, expensive, and often deadly to use, continue to operate across the Chinese border, carrying people and information in both directions. No dictatorship lasts forever. History has shown that again and again. The information cannot be fully contained. The markets cannot be fully shut down. And the gap between what the government tells people and what people can now see for themselves continues to widen. North Korea is a country where a grandmother chose to starve herself to death so her grandchildren could eat, where a teenage boy turned in his own family for a meal, where a woman's house burned down, and the government's first concern was whether a portrait survived. The people living inside that darkness did not choose it. And the silence from that satellite image at night, that massive black void between two glowing nations, is not emptiness. It is the sound of 25 million people waiting. For more amazing facts and real stories, make sure to subscribe to the channel and stay with us. Thank you for watching the video till the end.